Over the long run, the most important event last week in Asia took place beyond the trade-blighting hand of Donald Trump. On Saturday, the 11 remaining nations in the Trans-Pacific Partnership (TPP) announced that they had reached agreement on core elements of the original trade pact, now called the Comprehensive and Progressive Agreement for Trans-Pacific Partnership (CPTPP). Though some substantial disagreements still exist, and no nations have signed off on final language, trade bureaucrats have been tasked to produce legal language that would codify the political decisions. According to the most optimistic scenarios, the TPP-11 leaders could sign on texts in early 2018, with formal ratification sometime in early 2019. Japanese Minister of Economic Revitalization Toshimitsu Motegi and Vietnam's Trade Minister Tran Tuan An attend a news conference on the Trans-Pacific Partnership (TPP) ministerial meeting during APEC 2017 in Da Nang, Vietnam, November 11, 2017. Reuters. All of this may still unravel, as there is still a decidedly herding cats element in the process. But if the core elements' decisions remain intact, this will be a very big deal. Even without the U.S., the TPP-11 constitute a $356 billion trade area, with a combined GDP representing 13.5% of the global economy. Economists Peter Petrie and Michael Plummer have estimated income gains over existing conditions of $147 billion by 2030 for the TPP-11 nations. It should be noted that the Petrie-Plummer modeling assumed that all of the elements of the original TPP would be transferred to the TPP-11 agreement. We know that this will not be the case, as without the U.S., there was substantial jockeying to reduce some obligations. According to reports, some 20 provisions were suspended and will not be implemented immediately, or possibly even later. Half of these provisions related to intellectual property issues prioritized by the U.S. copyright biologics. Thus, it remains to be seen how much these changes will reduce the ultimate payoff. Deborah Elms, who heads the Singapore-based Asian Trade Center and has followed the negotiations closely, argues the overall impact is quite modest, and that the new TPP version is essentially identical to the original document. That remains to be seen, but what we can conclude at this point is the following: if it succeeds, the TPP-11 will offer, like the original TPP, a more advanced, liberal regional trade architecture than the weak alternative, the China RCEP. For the future, this has both economic and strategic implications, not least serving as a bulwark against the misguided, market-fragmenting priority of the Trump administration for bilateral trade agreements. Success in the TPP-11 marks the emergence of Japan to a leadership role on regional trade policy under Prime Minister Abe. After some initial hesitation, Abe and his trade diplomats have been indefatigable in pushing for this regional alternative backed strongly by Australia and New Zealand. Finally, the contrast with the protectionist, America First rhetoric and actions of the Trump administration during the Asia trip could not be starker. Our fact-challenged president, after kowtowing to Xi Jinping, managed to combine whining with bullying bombast at the APEC summit. We are not going to let the United States be taken advantage of anymore. Those who do not play by the rules can be certain that the United States will no longer turn a blind eye to violations, cheating, or economic aggression. Those days are over. Most of all, the TPP-11 is a bet that someday the U.S. will shed this benighted trade aggression, and once again take leadership, both economic and strategic, in an Asian regional architecture that fosters open trade and investment. Free trade agreements, Trans-Pacific Partnership (TPP) use Asian relations. There are no comments available.